Up 7.5% year over year. That's how high and out of control inflation has become for every American. The new numbers just came out and show a record 40-year high. The Biden administration watching this report very closely this morning as it impacts all of us. And we know this is how many people vote. Joining us right now, Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, good morning to you. What is your message to the administration and to the voters in your district? How are we going to start seeing economic progress and inflation taper off?
Well, unfortunately, we're in a spiral that was created by Joe Biden and his reckless stimulus policy from last year. When you pay people to stay home and they're not in the labor force, you have the same amount of dollars that are out there because you've given people money to go shop and get the things that they want, but there's not enough labor supply to produce the new level of goods needed. That's what has caused inflation. I disagree with some of the economists. It's not about the Omicron variant. We know what COVID has done for the last 2 years. This is a labor supply shortage created by bad economic policy. And so what we've done is that labor costs for the people who are working, that has gone up tremendously. But even the people who are getting raises, their raises are being outstripped by rising inflation. So they've actually fallen behind. It's time for the Federal Reserve to actually step in and raise interest rates. We have to actually tamp down this inflation. It's already out of control. And secondarily, in Washington, we have to stop the spending. There is a second tranche of COVID money that's supposed to be going to state and local governments. That needs to come back to the Treasury and not be spent.
And now we have this energy crisis, right? No doubt, energy independence, something most economists say we need. JP Morgan right now projecting oil prices could jump $120 a barrel if the conflict derails Russia's crude exports. Gas prices hit a 7-year high yesterday. Congressman, there's a clip of your remarks from a House oversight hearing making its rounds online when you challenged Democrats for their views on becoming energy dependent. We want to take a look at that again.
The Democrats are running around talking about how, we're going to cut carbon emissions by 2030. We're going to be tied to the Paris Climate Accords. This is what we're going to do. It's going to be great for our environment. But in the same breath, we are relying on countries in other parts of the world to drill the oil that we need to keep the lights on, to drill the oil that, for Dr. Mann, he needs to power Penn State. If Penn State went to zero emissions today, would you freeze in your office and would your students freeze in their classrooms and their dorms?
That's the silliest question I've heard today.
It's not a silly question because that's actually the one question that makes sense. If you cut off energy, people will freeze.
Congressman, we clearly are not yet at a place where we can rest solely on renewable energy, especially during a pandemic and recession. So what should Americans prepare for as we see the price of oil go up?
It's going to continue to hurt their budgets. It's going to hurt their disposable income. Look, home heating oil prices in the Northeast have doubled since last year. This is what every American's having to deal with right now in real time. It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse with the current policies in place, especially when we're not even allowing for domestic drills to actually exist here in the United States. We're shutting down rigs in the United States due to economic and environmental policy from the administration. This is only going to hurt the American people. We need to be drilling here in the United States. We need to be pumping natural gas here in the United States, not relying on the OPEC countries, not relying on Russia, not relying on Canada.
New York, Illinois, just two of the latest Democratic-led states to roll back certain indoor mask mandates. Congressman, Florida has long done away with mask mandates. So what do you make of these Democrat-run states right now adjusting these mask mandates for businesses and for some schools as well?
Two things. One, they saw the polls. And number two, the midterm elections are on the way. And the way things are shaping, they're going to lose, and they're going to lose big time. Listen, people know what's going on in Florida, in Texas, in Georgia. They've largely been open. Their COVID numbers are actually better than a lot of the Northeast states per capita, and people have gotten back to their lives. People are fed up and they're done. But the politicians in the Democrat Party, they finally have realized, because the polling numbers have come out, that if they don't reverse course, they're going to lose elections. A lot of this stuff has not been about science. Most of it has been about political science. You only need to ask Stacey Abrams, who took a picture without a mask in a classroom of kids who had to be masked up. When children are not the problem when it comes to COVID-19, they've never been the problem when it's come to COVID-19. The area we should have always been concerned with is people who have comorbidities and people who are over the age of 65. That's always been the problem sector, but the Democrats didn't care about that data. They cared about showing showing these feigned outrage that if you don't mask up, somehow you're against the science. That is ridiculous policy. It's never made any sense. It simply doesn't work. And the reality has now hit them in the face.
Law enforcement agencies and historically black colleges and universities right now trying to investigate the string of bomb threats that has happened in the past weeks. In a recent interview, Alcorn State University president responded to the nationwide bomb threats, saying students are, quote, disappointed, they are traumatized, they're resilient, and they are resolved to continue to move forward and to make it known that we won't be threatened and we won't be scared away. Congressman, you've been calling for the Oversight Committee to hold a hearing regarding the threat against HBCUs. What questions do you have?
A lot of questions. I think, look, when these bomb threats first came out, it shocked me. And then what I realized at first, it was only about 6, then it rose to about 13. Look, I went to an HBCU. I went to FAMU for 3 years. We shouldn't have any colleges in our country being targeted with bomb threats. The key thing I want to know is, because all these threats came in at the same time, is that was there a systematic threat? What's going on in the United States associated with it? We just want all of our college campuses to be safe so our children can get educated so they can take on the leadership roles of our country going forward.
All right, Congressman, great to see you. FAMU, we learn so much about you every time we talk to you. I used to live in Tallahassee. That was my first television job, in fact. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. Great to see you. We'll check in with you next week, sir.
All right. Thank you.